Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for August of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening this month for you. Well, happy birthday, Leo. If you haven't gotten your yearly birthday reading yet, it's not too late to benefit from a thorough look at your solar return birthday chart. It tells you all about the year ahead and comes with fantastic affirmations you can use all year to create your best life. You'll find a link for it in the description below. Well, Juno starts the month in Cancer, which is your 12th house, lagging a little bit behind some of the other planets here, which have already started to hang out in your first and second houses. Juno is an asteroid goddess to do with committed relationship, which can be in the realm of business, like a business partnership or a consultancy business, or can be a personal relationship, like a long-term relationship, or like co-parenting or marriage. When Juno is traveling through your 12th house, you can find yourself sometimes wanting to take a little backseat in that kind of relationship, to sort of step back and do some contemplating and some thinking and feeling into the relationship and asking yourself, what is the meaning behind the relationship? And just kind of having some time on your own apart from the relationship. So if that's been going on, no worries. It's perfectly normal for Juno's transit along the 12th house. And Juno's going to change houses mid-month right here, August 15th. When she pops on over the ascendant into your first house and joins the rest of the party. The first house, of course, is a very personal domain where you show your stuff, where you do your behavior. It's a very action-taking house and very much of an identity house. So when Juno enters this house, you might find yourself identifying with or embodying the archetype of the partner or the social maven. Juno is very much a networker and a connector of people with each other. I like to say she weaves the fabric of society together, and you might find yourself embodying these behaviors while she's passing along through your first house, which is going to go on until next month. Then I want to talk about Uranus. Uranus is traveling along through Taurus, and that in itself is not enough to make it worth mentioning Uranus, because he moves very slowly. He's going to be in your 10th house for a total of 7 years, and he's partway through that right now. But wherever Uranus goes, he brings innovation, insight, change, especially a cerebral form of change, a shift in ideas. Sometimes that eureka aha moment after which everything changes. And your 10th house being the domain of career, this does suggest that as long as Uranus is traveling through this house, you might have your career be really disrupted by the possibility of big changes, which can be fundamental in their nature. Not just a superficial change, but like something pretty big and sweeping. I like to say that when Uranus is in your 10th house, that you can have a career shift, a radical career shift up or down or sideways. And any of those can have a good outcome. A radical shift up could propel you into an uncomfortably high position, higher with more responsibility than you're used to. And then you scrabble to, maintain that position, and then you can hang on to it. But you do have to scrabble. A radical leap down can be like, I just got downsized. Or it can be, I'm ready for a sabbatical, or I've got something else that I want to do with my time, such as, have a baby or go back to school. So a radical leap down might seem bad, but it isn't always. Sometimes it's exactly what you wanted. And then a radical leap sideways can be a leap off of the usual map of career that you've been navigating on and onto a map that is entirely different. For example, maybe going from being employed to being self-employed, where you have to run all your money differently, keep your books differently, market and advertise for yourself, and manage all of your own people instead of being part of a greater structure that does that for you. It's an entirely different map of what career looks like. So those are the kinds of changes that can happen at some point during Uranus's 7-year journey through your 10th house. And the reason why I'm mentioning this now is that Uranus is going to go retrograde, signaling the beginning of this year's retrograde journey, which if there is a significant Uranus transit going on in your chart, this might be a time when you would really notice its effects. And that can look like, something disruptive, a new wild-haired idea popping up that changes everything, and that really, begins to steer the course of events, especially in your career, into a new direction. So that's happening on August 28th or anywhere within a week surrounding that date. Now, Ceres, another asteroid goddess that I love to talk about, is right here in your 3rd house. She's not terrifically comfortable in the 3rd house. This would be her house of fall. It's inherently uncomfortable because Ceres is a very embodied goddess. She is all about being in the physical body and taking good care of your health by having good rhythms and routines that you live into, and eating in ways that are good for your body and feel good to your body, and also earning strongly and feeling like a valuable person. All of these things are really quite physical matters. Well, that's almost a redundancy, right? Physical matters. But the 3rd house is a very cerebral domain. And so this is some of why Ceres isn't necessarily at her most comfortable in the 3rd house. And so this could be a transit where you find yourself, thinking through your finances, but maybe in a way that's so abstract and so little concrete that it's hard to put the plan into action, or being distracted from it so much that it's hard to, get a coherent plan in the first place. So, and I'm not telling you not to think about your finances or your diet. You definitely should, but, beware of distraction and thinking about things in really not sufficiently concrete a way. Hey, Julia, what's up with the inner planets for the Leos of the world?
Well, hey there, Leo. We've got some retrogrades going on this month. I'll start with Venus. She begins the month retrograde in your 1st house. Now, Venus is the relationship planet, and anytime any planet is retrograde, it's a time of review. And with Venus, that means relationship review, also beauty review as well. So starting the month retrograde in your 1st house of self, this house represents how you project yourself to other people. It's even your physical body too. Now, since Venus is retrograde in the 1st house, you might be reviewing your looks. Am I expressing myself, my aesthetic flair enough? Am I fashionable enough? Do I want to do any procedures on myself? Get micro needling done, or Botox, or get a haircut, or get a new tattoo even. Any type of beauty thing, fashion thing might be, an area that you're really reviewing in your life. However, since Venus is retrograde, I would say this is a good time for thinking about those things, but not a good time for acting on them. So, just be wary. This isn't a good time to do something totally radically different for your looks. I would just kind of wait until the retrograde cycle is over, which isn't going to be so much longer now. Just kind of hold off and use this more as a time of just taking in that inventory and sort of doing a little soul searching, more like. Now on August 13th, Venus is going to exactly conjoin the sun, and we call that Relationship Clarity Day. So it's a time of insights and revelations. So that could be a really good time to keep track track of, because you might make some connections having to do with all those things I was mentioning, you know, how you project your looks and your beauty and your style to other people. You know, you could also be reviewing your relationship, if you're currently in one, with who are you as an individual, you know, within the context of your relationship. If you feel like your individuality has been smothered or subsumed by the other person too much, you know, that could be another thing you're reviewing during this conjunction mid-month. Now, Mercury starts the month direct, but it's going to go retrograde later. So it's slowing down pretty early in the month. And this is all happening in your second house. Second house is a money house. It has to do with your belongings, your possessions, your collectibles, all of your stuff, you know, your car, your clothing, your jewelry, anything of value to you. It's also the house of values. And with Mercury slowing down in this house, then going retrograde on the 23rd, you know, Mercury retrogrades are known for times of miscommunication. This could very well be miscommunications over money. Maybe you want to sell something or buy something and you think it's got a return policy, and then you find out it doesn't. Maybe you didn't read the fine print. You know, I would be a little careful of shopping and acquiring new things under this Mercury retrograde. Or maybe you're having to even go back and look over your finances, your spending. Maybe some things pop out of nowhere that you're like, whoa. This can also be a time of having to rethink some of your values. Maybe you've grown, changed. Maybe you're taking on newer values in your life. And this is a time for kind of reviewing that. Finally, Mars, planet of action and activity, archetype of the warrior, starts out in your second house. So, you know, got some strong second house for you stuff this month because Mercury and both Mars are there. With Mars in there, it means you're really driven to make money. You're really driven to sort of acquire new things, maybe work a lot of overtime so you can kind of maybe pay up for something that you really want. When Mars is in the second, it's like when you see something you really want it. So it's a little dangerous with spending with Mars in the second. And with Mercury going retrograde in the second, you know what I said about not understanding the return policy? Well, this combination could mean you buy something and then regret it later. So, you know, maybe try to back off or think about things that you want to acquire. Or maybe you sell something right away. You sell off your car and then you're like, oh, wait a second. Actually, I don't know if that was a good idea. So be a little bit more, just slow yourself down when it comes to those matters and realize you can always do things later, that there's no immediate need for you to do them right away. Finally, on August 27th, Mars enters your third house for the last few days of the month. This is a house of your communication. It is a house that rules your siblings, cousins, neighborhoods, local surroundings like your community and town. And when Mars is in the third house, especially with Mercury retrograde at the same time in your second, maybe you're going to be having miscommunications over money and a little bit harsh with how you word things. And because, you know, since this is a house of communication and Mars is in there, it can have kind of a shoot from the hip quality to it, where maybe you are a little quick with your words, a little sharp with your words. Mars in the third house can mean that you face other frustrations in your life, maybe from your siblings, you know, maybe they get in trouble and you need to bail them out and it's just kind of frustrating and annoying you. Maybe their frustrations coming from your neighborhood, such as a really crappy commute, or maybe a lot of loud construction noise just going on outside your bedroom window. But you know, those could be areas of life that draw your ire with Mars in the third house.
Yeah, true enough. And boy, this double retrograde season, kind of
Oof.
killer, right?
Oh yeah.
Hi, Jamie here. Horoscopes and moon videos are fun, but they're also really general. Did you know we run live workshops monthly and that you can get questions answered about your own chart there? This month's topic is how to get passion and commitment in one blissful package. In this workshop, you'll discover your two different types for love and for marriage, and how to resolve them in a single, passionate, and committed relationship. If you haven't found lifelong love yet, you might want to consider attending this. This workshop is expressly for our Tier 2 Patreon subscribers. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. I'd love to see you there. Now let's get back to the video.
Well, starting on August 1st, we have the first of this month's 3 moons, starting with a full moon in Aquarius right here in your 7th house, really bringing strong relationship themes. We're calling this one Big Egos Disrupt Group Nourishment because the moon in Aquarius wants to nourish the group and has lovely help from Ceres, but the sun in Leo wants attention all for oneself. And this sun falling in your first house might even be about, expressly putting attention on you. So it may be that you throw a birthday party and then people accuse you of just being too big a personality at your own birthday party. I think it would be really good to be cautious if this happens near your birthday, and to ask yourself, do I get enough attention on my creativity? What can I do with the attention that I get to really support my creativity? And how can I spread attention out amongst my group of friends so that nobody has to feel bad about giving me attention, but they feel like we're all sharing it? Those might be some really great lines of thought during this particular full moon. Then the next thing that comes along is mid-month. We have got a new moon in Leo. Once again, it's your sign and lands therefore in your first house right here. And this one is called Mending Rifts, Not Making Them. And that's because this sun and moon meet up together at 23 degrees of Leo and form a precise square to that Uranus that I was telling you about. And Uranus is really such a disruptive and rebellious influence that this could definitely cause some rifts. But new moons are about the planting of seeds. And this one, falling in Leo, does suggest planting some seeds of creativity and self-expression and self-discovery. Wonderful things. And landing as it does in your first house and potentially around your birthday, this new moon could be about planting some seeds around self-discovery, around self-knowledge. And how can I, as a person, as that big expressive Leo person with my naturally, golden leadership qualities, how can I bring healing and good relations to the environments that I participate in? And that would be some pretty good stuff right there to be engaging in. And then we have the third moon of the month, which is at the very end of the month on the 30th, right here in your 8th house. Now, when a second full moon happens inside of a given calendar month, we call that a blue moon, but it doesn't have any astrological significance. It's just kind of a cool astronomical phenomenon that in the way that it, astronomical events line up with the human calendar, which is, an arbitrary thing, the human calendar. It's a made thing. So, but this is a full moon in Pisces, and we're calling it pressure to establish boundaries because the moon in Pisces tends to be very loosey-goosey, very, unbounded, very sort of like mergy and spiritual, and all of that stuff is pretty sweet. But this moon falling in your 8th house does suggest that there may be people in your life who are draining you with their emotional needs or pressing on your emotional boundaries with their own, really intense emotions. So you might even feel the lure of some particular thing or behavior that is very compelling to you, like an addiction of some kind. And having Saturn here in your 8th house with this moon would definitely suggest that some discipline is called for, and getting in command of your boundaries so that you are the decider of what you bring into your emotional space, rather than, that cocaine or candy bar, depending on the flavor of your poison. That this moon is going to deliver some pressure to establish boundaries, but also the solution to that very problem. And then the last thing I want to point out to you is the seasonal shift, which shows that at the beginning of the month, we have a lot of activity in Leo and in your first house, bringing the attention to you, which is no doubt where it belongs. And that in the beginning of the month, while your first house is so full, is a really great time to vote with your feet and let your actions lead you down the path of your life, and to discover who you are through how you behave in the world. However, when the sun moves on into your second house, moving into the sign of Virgo, this is where the environment shifts. And the emphasis is not so much on self in the pure sense, but is more on the practical matters of life: food, body, money, finances, physical self-care, self-stewardship, those sorts of things that are characterized by the second house. And whenever the sun is passing through a given house, it's going to spend about 30 days there. And it's a really good time for paying high quality attention to that arena of life so that things can just shine, glow, and flourish. And so while the sun is passing along through your second house for this 30 days, is a really good time to put your highest quality attention on your money and how you manage it, your body and how you are in it, and your food and how you eat it.
Well, that's all for today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly Patreon workshops. Find the link in the description below to get started. Enjoy your summer, and until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.